Hi, I'm John Mallows. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this Monday morning. Glad you are here. Today it's on the air, off the presses with our friends from GVWire.com. We'll talk local politics. We'll talk a little bit about the mayor, Lee Brand. We'll talk Grizzlies baseball. Who knows what else we'll talk about? Everything under the sun. 436-ME-TV option 11. Dr. Thomas Casagrande, our sponsor today. Back in a moment.
I want to discuss the importance of the television medium to the American people.
We are back on the program here on a Monday morning. Glad you're here. Thomas Casagrande is our sponsor today. It's on the air, off the presses. We'll get to our guest in just a moment. Having a lot of fun here on the program today because we're talking a lot about local issues as usual. Just a quick note about tomorrow's program. We're going to have somebody in here from the Heart of the Horse Therapy out in Clovis. This is a great place where kids go. Some kids that need physical therapy, mental therapy. Some kids have autism. They go out there, and you know who gives them the therapy? It's the horses out there. So our guy, Guy Anderson, our friend out there, is going to be in to talk about that great program that he has out there in Clovis. For now, you're watching us live on Comcast Channel 375, as usual. It's a call-in program, live Monday through Friday, 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock in the morning at 436-ME-TV option 11. And if you don't have Comcast cable, hey, it's not a big deal. You can watch us over-the-air broadcast with one of those television antennas, the outdoor types at 43.6 and 13.1. And like it or not, you can watch the replay of this program at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I always forget the times and the days and all that kind of stuff, but those are the replays right there. 13.6 YouTube, 8 o'clock tonight, 4.6 Biz TV. After that, I do know it's on YouTube. How can I possibly forget that? Of course, the big news in the media last week was Bill O'Reilly. He's the man that built Fox News from the ground up the last 20 years, making about 20 to 25 million bucks a year. He raked in 100 million in revenue, of course, over the last year or so. Let's put up the photo of Bill O'Reilly. However, as you know, he was forced to resign, or was he fired because of sexual harassment charges last week? Hey, all this happened while Bill O'Reilly was in Rome meeting the Pope, Pope Francis. In the meantime, he got a buyout of $25 million. But over the weekend, news broke that also Sean Hannity, his partner at Fox News, is now being accused of sexual harassment as well. Where will all this lead? Will Fox News go down in flames and they'll have to start all over again? The recap on the Bill O'Reilly scandal in this report.
At Fox News, over reports that former host Bill O'Reilly will receive millions of dollars in severance pay despite those sexual harassment allegations which he has denied. ABC's Rebecca Jarvis has new details.
You are about to enter the no spin zone.
This morning, Bill O'Reilly reportedly $25 million richer.
Often around this time of year, I grabbed some vacation.
Last seen on Fox News 11 days ago. Now leaving the network with a massive golden parachute.
Bill O'Reilly must go!
Following protests and an advertiser revolt.
Again, thanks for watching us tonight. I am Bill O'Reilly.
The company's top executives deciding O'Reilly had to go as more accusers came forward.
I'm just sitting there minding my business, and he walks past and says, "Hey, hot chocolate."
Perkita Burgess, who worked as a temp at Fox, sharing her story publicly for the first time on The View Thursday.
I was mortified.
O'Reilly's attorney telling ABC News they are not commenting at this time on Perkita Burgess's claims. Fox has paid out more than $85 million related to sexual harassment allegations, most of which has gone to the men accused of doing the harassing, causing outrage. O'Reilly now leaving the company with what will be its second biggest payout after former CEO Roger Ailes left with $40 million in July. Both men deny the allegations.
I'm Lisa Bloom, a lawyer who represents two of the women who have brought sexual harassment allegations against O'Reilly, tells ABC News Bill O'Reilly is living proof that money cannot buy human decency.
And live in our studio right now is David Taub of GVWire.com. He's been here before and he'll be here again. He's here today, 436 MeTV option 11. He'll talk about this. The sexual harassment charges at Fox News, does this lead to bigger and worse things over at Fox News as far as they're concerned? Are they going to go down in flames and have to start all over again? The other question is there anybody in this business that's irreplaceable? That's the question I have. No matter how big you are you irreplaceable? 436 MeTV option 11. Call in if you want to weigh in. Dr. Thomas Casagrande is our sponsor today here on the program. Back in just a moment. At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
Hi, I'm Joseph Castro, president of Fresno State. Here on campus and around the Central Valley, we take great pride in Bulldog Red. We also take pride in our diversity and our academic and athletic achievements. On Wednesday, May 10th, it will be my pleasure to join John Mallos on Connect with Me on MeTV Fresno for a 1-hour interview to talk about all the great things happening at Fresno State. See you then.
Back here on the program, David Taub is here. Good morning, David. How are you?
John, thanks for having me on again.
Hey, I appreciate it. Hey, so this Bill O'Reilly thing, does it, I really want your insight on this because you've been in broadcasting a long time. You've been in the media a long time. Is there anybody too big in this business that nothing will affect them, or is that not true?
I think you hit it right at the beginning. Nobody's too big unless you're the one signing the paycheck. I mean, if you're taking a paycheck from somebody, you're always at somebody else's mercy. And there's going to be no scandal that's too big. And if the pressure's great enough, and especially it's when the advertisers bailed out. If the advertisers stuck around, then Bill O'Reilly would still be on tonight. But once the advertisers bail, there's a lot of pressure on the corporate Fox, 21st Century Fox, to make a change. And maybe some people say, oh, well, you're succumbing to pressure. You're succumbing to the protesters and the ralliers. But it's all about the bottom line. It's all about the money. And if the advertisers aren't willing to pay that $25 million salary, then you got to make a change.
Yeah, so Bill O'Reilly said it was the left-wing groups that got him out. They were protesting, and it was really it was a matter of politics. These charges were unfounded. He paid them off because he wanted to get rid of them because he didn't want to embarrass his family, and they're not true. What do you? I mean, how are we to really know what's true and what isn't?
We're not. It's his. There's only two people who know: Bill O'Reilly and the accuser. And I think it's unfair to just summarily say, well, you're just trying to get the money. It's just a money grab. That it's a misunderstanding, which it may be, but we're never really going to know the truth unless it's completely litigated out. And even then it's what you want to believe. And Bill O'Reilly obviously has a huge following. Bill O'Reilly is a bastion for right-wing media, conservative media, and I'm sure he'll have his followers who will base their opinions, base their support just on the fact that they have a similar ideology. And it's not to dismiss the accuser's claims. I think sexual harassment, it's a terrible thing.
It's horrible, yeah.
And it's also terrible if you're accused unfairly. And Bill O'Reilly's right. Just because you make a settlement doesn't mean you're guilty, doesn't mean you're liable, doesn't mean that you did what they said. There are many reasons why people make a settlement. But it doesn't necessarily mean that he is in the wrong. It just means he wants this to go away, and it's probably mainly a corporate decision. That's the way corporations work. If there is somebody who's complaining loud enough, long enough, and has the right attorney, you just want to make this go away, whether it's the truth or not. Now, it's more like if he's going to go to jail, that you fight it tooth and nail. But when it's a civil situation like this, a sexual harassment situation like this, just because they settle doesn't mean he's wrong, but doesn't mean it didn't happen either.
Yeah, where does this put Fox News now? Because they were at the top of the heap. He had the highest rated cable show in history with like 4 to 5 million viewers per night. That number is huge for cable. It's gigantic for cable because you look at the nightly newscast just on regular television, broadcast TV. You've got Lester Holt, you've got David Muir, and you've got Scott Pelley. On the 3 traditional networks, and on any given night they have 1.5 million, maybe 2 million viewers. And here O'Reilly was raking in 5 million a night. Where does Fox News go from here, especially now with these new allegations coming up with Sean Hannity?
Well, they're going to take a hit in that Bill O'Reilly hour. I don't think Tucker Carlson is the answer, but it's just the importance of you always have to develop new talent. You always have to develop the next generation because of these what-if scenarios. No one person makes a network. Everybody is infallible. You know, what happens if, Bill O'Reilly, instead of having a sexual harassment allegation, let's say he breaks his leg and he's going to be off the air. Let's say he gets laryngitis, he's going to be off the air for a while. You always have to have the backup plan. You always have to have the next generation coming along. I thought they had it in Megyn Kelly, but that relationship didn't work out, and she moved on to NBC.
So she, I think, claimed that she was harassed as well.
Possibly. I mean, these aren't left-wing liberals who are doing the accusing of harassment against O'Reilly, against Roger Ailes. I mean, it's Gretchen Carlson, it's Megyn Kelly, it's other Fox News contributors, on-air and off-air talent. I mean, when there's enough smoke, I don't want to say there's fire there, but you got to listen, and you got to realize that this isn't a left-wing versus right-wing conspiracy that Bill O'Reilly may want to try to draw that narrative to garner that support. You know, whether there's something there or not, it's not a good situation. Corporate America may have tolerated it before. You hear all these terrible stories about what Roger Ailes allegedly did or didn't do. And finally, even Roger Ailes has a boss. Even Rupert Murdoch, who owns the whole network, who owns the whole Fox shindig, he has to listen to a board. He doesn't own it outright. So there's always some kind of corporate checks and balances, and it's the checks that balance who gets to stay on the air or not.
Yeah, and the question is, where are you going to get another so-called loudmouth like Bill O'Reilly to fill that slot? Because, he was a journalist at one time. I mean, he really was a great journalist at ABC News. He was a correspondent, covered a lot of things. He had a lot of experience, but he became this larger-than-life figure at Fox News. Much like on television, much like Rush Limbaugh became larger than life on the radio. So that spot is going to be hard to fill. Like Bill O'Reilly or not, he is a larger than life figure and a difficult spot to fill in that media slot. Is that not true?
You're not going to have another Bill O'Reilly. He's a unique individual, a unique personality, just like Rush Limbaugh, just like the TV network news anchors. If the person who fills the slot right now, Tucker Carlson, tries to be another Bill O'Reilly, that direct comparison is just going to be a fail. You're going to have somebody who has the talent, who has that journalistic credibility to get the top interviews, to continue the Fox News conservative media theme, but it have to be an individual, unique personality. Hey, Keith, is Keith Olbermann still available?
That's a possibility, but I think you hit the nail on the head with Megyn Kelly, because she was the up-and-coming star. And she was kind of like O'Reilly, a female version of O'Reilly in a way. Great outgoing personality, wasn't afraid to fire back. You know what I mean? Wasn't afraid of getting into a confrontation with somebody on the air.
Well, I think that may prove to be a mistake to let her go, or to let her out of her contract, or let her sign with somewhere else.
Yeah.
Should they have tried to smooth out the situation, take care of her issues, as serious as these allegations may have been? Maybe, because now they're in a bind. You can't think that O'Reilly's going to be there forever. Just a few years ago, is Rush Limbaugh going to retire? But for O'Reilly himself, he'll bounce back. It may not be with Fox News, but I think the media is big enough, whether he is on a smaller cable channel that we've never heard of,
or a podcast like he's starting today.
Or a podcast. He's probably not going to make $25 million.
Yeah.
I know it's probably not going to hurt him, but, if somebody wants to get on the map and they don't want to hire Bill O'Reilly, let this die down a little bit, bring him back, and hope that it works.
Who would hire him? MSNBC?
Well, one of these, what's the news station, Newsmax? It's on the whole Ventura TV news system.
Okay.
Say, hey, watch Bill O'Reilly nightly now on channel 13.10. I think they'll get some people at least interested in watching, and they get their name out.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it could happen. Okay, we got to go to break here. We'll change topics. 436-MeTV, option 11. David Taub is here from GVWire.com. You can go to GVWire.com and get a whole host of stories that are local stories that are updated, up to date. And you can just go to your computer, your iPad, or whatever, even your phone. You can dial it up on your phone, GVWire.com. 436-MeTV, option 11. Who's our sponsor today? It's good old Dr. Thomas Casagrande. That's right, our friend over there at Shaw and Blackstone. Back in a moment.
When you're looking for Whirlpool innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, we'll help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified Whirlpool appliances save you energy and money, and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
Another woman is coming forward with shocking allegations that she was sexually harassed by Bill O'Reilly.
He walks past and says, "Hey, hot chocolate." But he didn't look at me when he said it. And I was like, I didn't respond. I was mortified.
Parkita Burgess spoke out Thursday on The View.
He always walked past my desk, and he made like a grunting noise, which, you know,
Burgess worked at Fox News in 2008 as an office temp.
When you heard that, in fact, Fox was releasing him, elated, happy?
Triumphant. Yes. I felt triumphant.
And now there are other allegations against O'Reilly.
The first time that I met Bill O'Reilly, one of the first things out of his mouth was something to the effect of, "When I was in college, professors didn't look like you."
Caroline Heldman, a professor at Occidental College in California, was a regular guest on O'Reilly's show.
He was reminding me that in his world, I'm just a sex object who talks on his show. He also did a fair amount of leering at my legs, at my chest.
Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly.
Just hours after O'Reilly lost his job, he was erased, with his name unceremoniously scrubbed from the highest-rated show on cable news.
Wow, pretty shocking allegation just to hear that in a live interview with The View. I think she was on CNN with Anderson Cooper as well. But there are others that have come out. But see, isn't it shocking to hear that?
I'm thinking, say it ain't so, Bill. You don't want, you hear these terrible things. Bill O'Reilly has a following. He has a lot of fans. You don't want to hear this about somebody you consider, I don't know if you'll call it a role model, but somebody who entertains you, somebody who gives you the news. It kind of reminds me of Bill Cosby. You hear one or two, they're just lying. That's not true. And you keep hearing more and more, and you're thinking,
it's like an avalanche.
Not all these people can be in it just for the money. Like I said, there might be smoke, there's fire, I don't know, but there's a lot of people that you have to look at it and say, oh my goodness, what is going on here?
Right.
It's sad for everybody involved.
But it's shocking to hear, though, isn't it?
It is.
It's shocking to hear somebody talk about it.
Somebody that you trust, the TV anchorman, whether it be on Fox News, CNN, the three major networks, who produce nightly news.
Yeah.
It's shocking to hear, something that makes him so infallible or so vulnerable.
Yeah, like how could you do this? I used to like you. Now I can't stand the sight of you.
I looked up to you.
Yeah.
Because you're a bastion of morals. You're a bastion of truth, honesty. And this is how you live your personal life?
Hey, quickly, before we move on to another topic, is this one of the reasons why people distrust the media so much?
I think so.
In this day and age? Because you never heard these things about Walter Cronkite, David Brinkley, some of the people that I grew up watching.
Well, it's also the explosion of media that we have today in 2017 versus 1970. I mean, the only forms of media were newspaper, radio, and the network news on 3 channels.
Yeah.
Now anybody with a Twitter account can call themselves a journalist, report news. I think there's an insatiable appetite for gossip, and social media, the internet delivers that.
Yeah, it's incredible. Okay, let's change topics here and go statewide and talk a little bit about a man named Isidore Hall. Let's put his picture up on the screen here. By a party line, 25-13 vote. Governor Jerry Brown, of course, announced Hall's appointment in January. He survived a contentious battle by that vote there, being selected, of course, to the ALRB. That's the Agricultural Labor Relations Board. What's the story behind this?
The Agricultural Labor Relations Board, ALRB, was set up by Governor Brown in his first go-around in the mid-'70s as kind of an arbiter when there are problems between the farmer and farm labor.
Right.
You know, it's a
when there's a problem.
Yeah, there's a little. It's a kind of a separate out because it's a specified field.
And they're supposed to take care of the farmer for the most part, right? They're supposed to hear. Are they supposed to hear both sides?
They are. They're supposed. You know, let's say there's a complaint filed. You know, you're not paying me fair wages.
Right.
You know, you're abusing my hours.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm going to file a complaint with the ALRB. They're going to investigate it, and let's say they file charges. They'll have a hearing officer, an administrative law judge, to hear the case. They'll hear both sides, so they'll make a decision. If one of the parties doesn't like the decision, they can appeal to the full ALRB, which is supposed to be 5 members appointed by the governor, and they are, well, they all make 6 figures. They all make at least $142,000. However, with Isidore Hall's confirmation, there are now only 3 of the 5 who are actually active ALRB members. Where are the other 2 at? I don't know. They've been kind of short-staffed.
So let's put his
while.
picture up on the screen one more time and ask you what's the issue with Isidore? What's the issue here?
First
primarily?
of all, he is a longtime Compton politician. He was both in the state assembly and the state senate, and he tried to run for Congress last year in November 2016, and he lost.
Okay.
And now all of a sudden he is out of work, but a couple months later in January, people say that the appointment of him by Governor Brown was a lifeline. They call it cronyism. He's just trying to help somebody who is an out-of-work politician.
Yeah,
exactly.
buddy of his.
And a lot of people are upset that they kind of see, well, he's a Compton politician. What does he know about agriculture? Well, just because you're Compton doesn't mean you don't know anything about agriculture. But he never served on any agriculture committees. Well, maybe he's a labor expert. You know, maybe he's an attorney. Maybe he served on labor. No. He doesn't seem to have any at least discernible labor experience. He doesn't have any discernible agriculture experience.
Right.
And you think that those items would be important, that you know one area of the issue or the other to be qualified to serve on that board. So that's what a lot of people had contention with. And even the LA Times called him out. The liberal, well, some people call the liberal LA Times, called out cronyism here.
Yeah, and of course, the exact figure for the salary there is $142,095 per year. And
the thing is, John, they only had one public meeting in 2016. They've had one this year. There's another one scheduled for next month. But that's a lot of bread to make for only one public meeting.
Yeah, and there was an attack on the Senate floor here. Senator Andy Viadak, he's from Hanford. I had a soundbite with him. It's rather short. And the protest on the floor of the Senate by Andy Viadak, he actually led the charge. Listen to what he had to say.
The Pro Tem has done zero, zilch, nada on this. It would appear that there probably have been at least a few rules, few laws broken in this whole affair.
And so Andy Viadak seemed, he was outraged, as were other members of the Senate.
Well, Andy Vidak's been leading the charge, and wait, there's more about this whole Isidore Hall situation. So the Senate Rules Committee is the committee that has the first say. They approve the appointment, and then it's sent it to the full Senate floor for confirmation.
Okay.
So
and it's all Democratic. Let's not forget that.
Well, the committee has 5 members.
Right.
It's like a 3-2 split.
Right, but I'm talking about when it goes to the full Senate vote,
Yes.
It's Democratic controlled.
Yes, it is. So the day before his committee hearing, Isidore Hall is accused of going to a Sacramento bar at the Hyatt where George Radonovich and the other members of the California Fresh Fruit Association just happened to be there. They were up in Sacramento for a meeting.
Okay.
And they were also going to be speaking at this confirmation hearing.
All right.
And as the story that Andy Vidak's been saying goes, that Hall went to them, approached them at this bar, and said, if you guys oppose me, I'm going to get you. In essence, he's saying, I'm going to have a vendetta against you if you oppose me. Well, the following day at the confirmation hearing, the public's allowed to speak. They pretty much have 10 seconds to say, I oppose, I'm against. George Radanovich did speak at that meeting saying, I'm George Radanovich, California Fresh Food Association, and I oppose this confirmation. And he did pass that confirmation by a 3-0 vote. The two Republicans in that committee, one Tom Berryhill was not present, and the other one Anthony Cannella, the most embattled Republican in the state Senate, he decided to withhold his vote. So we find out a week later, Andy Vidak releases to the media this bombshell that's saying that Hall went to these people and an obscenity-laced tirade is how he described it against people who opposed him. So Vidak wanted the state president or the state Senate president, Kevin De Leon, to investigate. De Leon didn't want to do that. He refused. So Vidak then went to the state ethics committee. They decided not to hear it either. Then he went to the Governor Brown saying, please withdraw your nomination until we can figure out what's going on. Governor Brown didn't do that either. So you have somebody who's accused of inappropriate behavior, so that's why the bias claim is there. That's just added fuel to the fire to people who think that if Hall already wasn't qualified in the first place. He did march with the UFW. There are photos of that, and his detractors will certainly remind you of that. So they think he's biased already. This kind of added fuel to the fire. But interesting that although George Radanovich, he's a former congressman representing this area.
Republican, by the way.
Yes. He did confirm to me that, yes, he was present at that meeting. He's not saying what exactly was said. He's not going further on that. So these are kind of Andy Vidak's words through hearsay. And Kevin De Leon actually did address that issue on the floor during the full confirmation vote. He says, we don't investigate barroom talk. So that's
but this is a sidebar to the cronyism.
It is. I mean, you have all these issues, which is why Isidore Hall's appointment was so contentious. You have cronyism. You have people who think he wasn't qualified. You have him you have Andy Vidak accusing Hall of vowing to get even with people who opposed him. You have all these issues going on here.
Yeah, it's amazing. And another senator, his name is Tom Berryhill. Let's play the sound from him and hear what he had to say on the Senate floor.
But his public opposition to my constituents represents the same bias against farmers and farm workers that has been promoted by this board over the past several years.
Berryhill talking on the Senate floor, as was Joel Anderson. He's a senator from San Diego. Here is what he had to say as well.
This body already has a black cloud over it, having seen in my short time in the legislature 3 senators go to jail because of lack of ethics.
All right, Berryhill and Anderson, where do they fit in?
Tom Berryhill represents most of Fresno County.
Yep.
You hear him, he opposes him. Gowan farming has been the main contention of what ALRB has had to deal with. They've been in a long-term feud with the UFW, and ALRB is supposed to be the ones who are settling it, and not to Gowan's satisfaction. They're tied up in litigation. I mean, that's an issue for a whole different show, and I don't know if you've covered it before, but the whole Gowan versus UFW is mainly what ALRB is dealing with, and it's a messy, complicated situation.
But hasn't the ALRB kind of pulled away from the United Farm Workers in a way over the last few decades? Because, not few decades, maybe the last decade or so, there have been complaints on the other side. They're not being well represented if they have complaints.
It depends on who you talk to. The advocate groups who are opposed to what the ALRB does will tell you, oh, well, there are a lot of interconnections between ALRB employees and the UFW. The ALRB will tell you we're fair and unbiased. We're doing what our
But
charters
they're being accused by some groups within the United Farm Workers that they're not fair and unbiased.
Well, I guess they say if you have both sides accusing you of not being fair, then I guess you're doing it right.
Maybe you're doing something right, yeah. So do you think the ALRB is on the up and up or not?
I don't know. I've had a whistleblower by the name of Leslie Soul who called me, and I did a story about her. She's a former ALRB employee, so she's an insider, and she feels there's bias going on.
Yeah, and I think we do have a soundbite on that too as well. We'll do that after the break. 436 MeTV option 11. We're back here in just a moment after this from Thomas Casagrande, our sponsor today.
Hi, I'm Joseph Castro, president of Fresno State. Here on campus and around the Central Valley, we take great pride in Bulldog Red. We also take pride in our diversity and our academic and athletic achievements. On Wednesday, May 10th, it will be my pleasure to join John Mallos on Connect with Me on Me TV Fresno for a 1-hour interview to talk about all the great things happening at Fresno State. See you then.
At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
Leslie Soul took a gamble that she says eventually forced her from her job as a legal typist with the Agricultural Labor Relations Board. In part 1 of GV Wire's report, Soul says after speaking out against the confirmation of board member Genevieve Sharoma, she was suspended. She eventually quit rather than fighting the bureaucracy. In her 3 years working at the ALRB, Soul feels the agency has a bias towards farm workers.
There's an obvious bias going on here. Why are they treating these people like this?
The ALRB is supposed to help settle disputes between farmers and labor. One of the biggest cases involves Gourawan farming. It has been a nearly 30-year battle between Gourawan, its employees, and the UFW. Summarizing a complex case, the UFW organized workers in 1990. Employees claim the UFW abandoned them for more than 20 years. In 2012, the UFW returned, requesting labor negotiations with Gourawan. A year later, the employees voted on whether to decertify the UFW as their representatives. Gourawan was accused of manipulating the vote, leaving those ballots uncounted and in limbo. They have since been locked up by the ALRB.
I don't know that there's any precedent in the ALRB history of doing things, and it's certainly not in their rules of conduct, that they can just take ballots and lock them away indefinitely and not count them.
Despite the fact that they're supposed to be unbiased, Soul says that's not the case with ALRB board member Catherine Rivera Hernandez.
I personally heard Catherine when there was a decision in favor of Gourawan that came down from one of the appellate courts. And I was sitting right outside Catherine's office, and I heard her shriek like a banshee when she saw the decision and go, Gourawan, you know. So there was no denying that that's what she was shrieking about, but she's obviously got this bias because of what I heard.
GV Wire asked Rivera Hernandez for a response. An ALRB spokesman declined on her behalf. David Taub, GV Wire.
All right, so as I understand it from that story, Leslie Soul saying that ALRB clearly has a bias against farm workers.
That's what she tells me. So
I mean that's as clear as day. She said it right there, as clear as day. And so there must be others who feel that there has been a bias. And that's what I was talking about. The last 10 years or so, there hasn't been this clear-cut, okay, let's have a fair board hearing. Okay, you have a complaint, let's bring both sides together. It's been one bias or one negative, I think, almost like a laser beam toward one group.
Well, I think the case with ground farming has really brought this to the forelight, because who's heard of the ALRB? Just another anonymous government agency.
Well, people who follow politics know what it means and know what it is, but maybe the average viewer out there doesn't know what ALRB means.
You know, Gourawan is one of the world's largest fruit growers. They're based in Fresno County, so I think that's why it has a lot of attention here. That's why it got my attention. It's why it has attention of others in the media in this area.
And they've been in business for, what, 30 years or more?
So yeah, they're a long time. I mean, become the world's largest fruit grower, I think, by volume.
Right.
You know, by just
overnight.
Opening up. Yeah. So, but, are they in the right? Are they in the wrong?
And so what? Okay, let me ask you something. Somebody out there watching, why is this relevant to me? Why is this dispute in ALRB and the United Farm Workers and Gourawan and Governor Jerry Brown appointing, Hall? Why should I care about that?
Because there's money involved. This is how your government is working. And if GV Wire and others aren't going to shine a light on how your government's working, then they can get away with the alleged cronyism. They can get away with spending $142,000 for a board member when they have one public meeting a year or two public
That's
meetings a year.
taxpayer money, by the way, 142 grand a year.
Of course. And if this, it's supposed to be a quasi-judicial agency and people don't think they're acting and behaving fairly, that is worth knowing. That is worth reporting on. That's kind of the goal of JV Wire, to shed, to create awareness of these issues.
How your tax money is being spent.
How your tax money is being spent, how people think that if they're being judged fairly. And of course, Growlin, it is a big employer in Fresno County. They are one of the parts of the tree fruit growing industry here and in the whole state and the whole nation.
Okay, so this is your money in action, 142 grand a year, taxpayer money. What do you think about it? 436 MeTV, option 11. Hey, got to take another break. We're going to come back right after this.
Want to create something extraordinary? Create perfection. Our lifestyle appliances make it easy. KitchenAid, Ventura TV appliance, and you, when only the best will do.
At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today. Okay, back here on the program, let's put up the picture, if we can, of Lee Brand. He's the mayor of Fresno, and of course, first 100 days, there's Lee Brand right there. Big article in the op-ed piece of the Fresno Bee yesterday talking about how Lee Brand has kind of, David, stayed under the radar, so to speak. He hasn't been out in front. He's gotten his agenda through, the rental housing thing, and he wants his police citizens advisory board. He's getting that done. Other things, he wants more police officers. He'll probably get that done. The budget's coming up. But he's doing it all under the radar. He's not touting his agenda in the media. He's not going on talk shows. He's not visible in the paper every single day the way Autry was, the way Patterson was, the way Swearingen was. What do you make of Lee Brand?
I think obviously different styles, but we knew this. People who covered Lee Brand when he's on city council knew this is Lee Brand. He's a little understated. He's not the most charismatic person. Right. He's a policy person. He's a numbers guy, and he's surrounding himself with a good team. He just hired a new city manager. I know it's really kind of getting inside politics, but he hired somebody who's already been working at City Hall for a while, and it depends. You want to go back on the campaign trail, Is this what he wanted? Does he want to continue the policies that we had before? Did he want to bring in his new stuff? He didn't bring in anybody new.
No, he didn't. No outsider. Let's put up her picture, by the way. Her name is Wilma Kwan Schechter. She's the new city manager. Why does this matter to the average person at home? There she is right there, and we'll roll the videotape in a couple of minutes on Lee Brand making the announcement of her as the new city manager. Of course, Bruce Rudd retiring, staying on. How important a position is that, by the way?
The city manager, in the way the Fresno government works, is very important. They are the right-hand person, now the right-hand woman, for the mayor. They're going to carry out the mayor's agenda. They are going to twist the arms of city council to get the mayor agendas approved, to approve his items he wants to. They are going to deal with all the other facets of city government. So the city manager in a town like Fresno is very important. Now, Wilma, no doubt she's qualified. She's been the assistant city manager. She's held other positions in City Hall.
She's 43 years old, by the way, and the first woman to hold a position.
Well, for some people, that's important.
Yeah.
Listen, nobody I think is going to take away for her say it's undeserved.
Yeah, a lot of people know her husband, David Schechter. He was a former professor at Fresno State. In fact, he was on this program before a few moons ago. And let's roll a videotape on Lee Brand, the mayor, introducing Wilma Kwan Schechter as the new Fresno city manager.
And it is with great pleasure today that I announce that I have chosen Wilma Kwan Schechter as the new city manager of Fresno.
So I am very thankful and humbled to be standing before you today and alongside the mayor for this announcement. I am so grateful to have the opportunity to serve this community and the mayor as the next city manager for the city of Fresno.
That video courtesy of the Fresno Bee, and again, that's a very, very important position, because if Jerry Dyer suddenly decides, hey, I'm leaving, I'm retiring, I'm out of here, it will be up to the city manager, Wilma Quan Scheckner, to hire the next police chief, and then Lee Brand will take a look at it and sign off. That's how important her job is.
I don't know the exact dynamic, whether it's the mayor, that comes from the mayor or it comes from city manager. But obviously, the city manager is hired by the mayor. So they're not going to do anything that opposes what the mayor wants.
Exactly.
But they carry out the agenda. They deal with all the various city agencies.
What the city manager does?
Yeah, they carry out the policy. They'll talk to Public Works. This is how the city the mayor wants it. And all these city department heads, they answer to the mayor. That's the way the strong government style of Fresno works. That these department heads are hired and fired by the city manager through the mayor.
Yeah. Now, Bruce Rudd, how much influence is he going to have the last few months that he's sticking around to be like an advisor, I guess you could say?
I think so. It'll be a smooth transition. Obviously, Wilma being his assistant city manager, and Mayor Brand has always said he has such high regard, high respect for Bruce Rudd that Bruce wanted to retire long ago. He wanted to retire last year, but Mayor Brand was able to convince him to at least stick around through July so they can hire a new city manager so they can make this transition period. So you ask, how does the everyday person, how is it going to affect them? They may not see it, but if you're in the business community, if you want to get a business license, if you want to build a home, if you want to start a new business, if you want to think about moving your company to Fresno, then the city manager is very important because they carry out the policy. They're the ones who are going to carry out Mayor Brand's business policy, business-friendly Fresno.
Yeah.
And they're the ones who are going to carry out building a new water plant. They're the ones who are carrying out how to spend the $70 million in cap and trade fund money.
Mm-hmm.
So they play a vital role when it comes to actually running city government.
Yeah, we're going to talk about cap and trade in just a few minutes, but let's put up the picture of Wilma one more time. Wilma Quan Scheckter, because I want to mention, she's lived in Fresno the past 20 years. There she is right there. As I said, 43, married to David Scheckner, former Fresno State professor. As the assistant city manager, David, she made $176,000 a year. Rudd's annual salary this year, base of $243,240. I would imagine just getting a bump up, in the position, she's going to get a bump in earning power too. So is that too much money for a city manager?
I think it's something to call your city councilman about. While the city manager is hired by the mayor, the city council sets the budget. And I've asked city councilmen before, why are you can make a they say you can make a comfortable living in Fresno at $45,000, no less $100,000.
$243,000 for Bruce Rudd.
And the answer is, well, that's how we get the best person. But well, now that we got the best person, that sounds like the Scheckter family is pretty well situated in Fresno. I guess the question is, this is where democracy works. The budget process for the city is going to be happening in June. And if you think that's too much, or maybe it's not enough, you call your city councilman and you lobby them and say, well, if we can get somebody at $240,000, do you think she'd be willing to work at $200,000? Listen, you go along the line, you see all the department heads, and the other important people who work at City Hall, and you see what they're making, and you make me think that we're in the wrong line of work.
Well, let me add, for that kind of money, maybe we are. Maybe we should have applied for that job.
Yeah, we'll do it for half.
Do it for half. That's exactly right. But let me ask you something before we go to break here, because you're a savvy guy. You know what's going on at City Hall. You got Gary Bredefeld, who's the new city councilman there in District Number 6. Fresno Bee kind of made a comment in their op-ed piece this week that Bredefeld will do anything, including shout at the top of the mountain so everybody hears him, even if it means nothing. He wants to be heard. Gary Bredefeld wants to be heard, even if the issue amounts to nothing.
I don't agree with that. Listen, full disclosure, last year in the campaign, I worked for one of his opponents, Holly Carter. And so I kind of had an insider perspective of Bredefeld. We respected him, but we kind of questioned, where does he stand? Is he truly a conservative head? And seeing his first 3-4 months in city council, he's been one of the most conservative members on council. He has balked at what are routine spending decisions for spending money for PR consultants. He balked at that. He said no. He led the fight against that and got the city council to cancel some of these contracts and save the city a couple $100,000.
Right, I remember that.
So he's definitely a fiscal conservative.
Yeah.
And now, his plan to put "In God We Trust" in city council. Is it wrong for a city council?
He disagrees, though, with a lot of what Brand's doing.
Well, is that a bad thing?
No, I'm not saying it is, but it creates a little tension there on the council. And then you can throw in Olivier and Brandow. They're both going to be running, I guess, for state senate. Am I right about that?
Well, Clinton has already announced. Brandow has not. It would be a weird dynamic when you know about the French at City Hall. People know about the friendship between Brandow and Olivier.
Yeah.
And to have them running at the same seat, that'd be interesting.
But here's what's funny. You got Borges, who's on the Fresno County Board of Supervisors. He may run, along with Debbie Puchigian. So you got 4 potentials there that are conservatives. Typically, well, not typically, but supposedly they're all 4, within that Republican kinship.
Right. They both are going to go for the conservative vote.
Yeah.
And the way that state senate district is, which is currently held by Tom Berryhill, who we heard from earlier, he is termed out, so it's an open seat.
Exactly.
And anything is in play when you have an open seat. It's a rare thing because we know about the incumbency advantage.
All right. So George Hofstetter wrote CBWire.com that there's tension building on the city council. Would you agree or disagree with that?
Yeah, it's just rumor and innuendo. I mean, there's going to be a tension in any legislative body. You never want to have a 7-0 vote. If you have a 7-0 vote every single time, then why have a city body decide things that are important to the city government? Yeah. I think a 4-3 vote all the time isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
It means that you have both sides represented thoughtfully. You have both sides. You have a true debate.
That just means they're not all playing the same game at the same time. They're not all playing hopscotch at the same time, right? So they're going in different directions, but that's okay. 436 MeTV option 11. Hey, we'll talk cap and trade on the way back, and after the break, we'll also talk about your Fresno Grizzlies baseball team. I'm talking moolah, money. Back after this from Thomas Casagrande in a moment.
Not sure what you're watching? Want to see what's coming up next? Or just want to browse what's on without the hassle of flipping channels? Your wish has come true. Now you can view schedules for all the digital TV channels available in the Central Valley. Get local weather updates and forecasts, and listen to nationally syndicated Biz Talk Radio, all on KBHF 4.1. Rescan your TV now, then tune in to Digital Channel 4.1 to start enjoying the all-new TV Guide.
At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
All right, back here on the program, and so how is everything over at gvwire.com, by the way?
Oh, it's wonderful. I love the opportunity. It's journalism, independent journalism. I don't know if you want to call us mainstream media, but we get to cover these in-depth issues that you may not see elsewhere, like the ALRB issue.
Yeah.
Like
you're not going to see that on 47 or 30.
No, for a lot of reasons. One, they got only so much time to cover things, both on the air and off the air.
By the way, you sent us a picture this morning, and Carrie, can you put that picture up and have David explain? This is a picture. You have an interview coming up with
Tom Steyer. He's known for his philanthropy. He is known for his last political season, he donated $87 million. He's a liberal Democrat. He's a billionaire. You know, I don't want to talk too much about somebody's bank account, but that's what he's known for. He's been floating the idea, will he run for governor or not? He was in town last week to speak at a Democratic dinner fundraiser here in Fresno County, and I had a chance to speak with him. And that interview will be coming up on jvwire.com later today.
What's the topic? What did you talk
Well,
to him
we're going to talk
about?
his thoughts about Donald Trump. We're going to talk about what his solutions to the water problem are. We're going to get his thoughts on the gas tax that was recently passed. And I asked him, what are the decisions going to be made? Are you going to run for governor or not? You know, every time somebody asks him, well, I don't know. So I ask him, well, what's going to be that deciding factor for you?
Hey, what did you ask him his thoughts about, I forget the guy's name that wants to split up California into
the Cal Exit? No, because Cal Exit seems like it's dead now.
Cal Exit, yeah. It was hot for a while.
But it's a fantasy.
Yeah.
Because the actual motions you have to go through to actually split a state off, you know, there are constitutional requirements to join the union. I'm not quite sure they're the same to split off from the union. You know, I don't know if the eventual plan was California be its own country to be its, you know, so.
Quickly, before we get into cap and trade here, I don't want to run out of time. Channel 47, our friends over there, who they let us use video all the time, so we appreciate that. And so what do you make of this jailhouse interview they did with the alleged and accused shooter of 4 different people within the last 2 weeks? Of course, last week he shot and killed, allegedly 3 people. That's what he's accused of. So 47 calls him, or he calls them, and they do this interview. There's some backlash. I didn't see the interview. I heard about it, but didn't take the time to listen to it.
I think they're just doing their journalistic duty. First of all, it's a get that any journalist in this town would want. An exclusive interview with somebody who's so talked about one of the most horrific incidents in Fresno in recent times.
Yeah, we're talking about Ali Mohammed.
Yeah, Corey Ali Mohammed. They said that he called them. They interviewed the interview, and there was a lot of backlash on their Facebook site. How dare you interview him? How dare you? It's an insult to the family. What about equal time for the family? And I think those comments are a little unfounded.
Did you listen to the interview?
I did. I watched it.
Okay, and what was he saying?
You know, I did it. You know, it kind of fits the narrative that we've heard about this person. That, you know, he doesn't like white people. That he's upset at white people, and that's why he did it.
They're holding him down.
Yeah, they're holding him down. The most interesting thing of that interview is, I guess, she either shot or missed at a Hispanic woman, or he didn't fire the gun. And he said, oh, I'm glad that I didn't do that because I couldn't live with myself if I hurt them.
Right.
That's what stuck with me in that interview. But the people who criticized Channel 47 for doing that interview, it's just proper journalistic practice. You got to cover all sides of the story and even talk to the person who is accused of one of the most horrific things at all. And it's for those who say, oh, they're just doing it for the ratings. You don't air an interview like that on a Saturday night and think you do it for ratings.
Yeah, I mean, Charles Manson, for that matter, has been interviewed as well.
Exactly.
So by many times over by many journalists. All right, let's change the topic to cap and trade. Fresno, one of 3 counties to share $140 million in grants. We get $70 million of that. It's called cap and trade. We have a video on that, so let's roll it and play the sound.
Last year, Governor Jerry Brown signed a law at a Fresno ceremony that would send $70 million of cap and trade funds to the most environmentally disadvantaged communities. This Cal EnviroScreen map shows some of the areas in the state hardest hit by pollution. Fresno is mostly in the red, especially in the south and west parts of the city. But as with any government grant, there's friction on some of the state guidelines on how and where to spend the money. Right now, our preliminary proposal calls for spending the money near high-speed rail stations. Just last month, Fresno Mayor Lee Brand felt that money is coming downtown.
Last year, we were able to secure a $70 million grant on cap and trade, the largest single grant ever by the city of Fresno, and that money will primarily be spent downtown.
The Strategic Growth Council is the state agency in charge of distributing the funds. They held a regular meeting this week. A busload of 50 residents from Southwest Fresno attended to voice their concerns.
They do not want to prioritize 1 mile radius around the high-speed rail. They want to see the money be used to really benefit the community.
Absolutely, residents have been very loud and clear around the concern with the 1 mile radius. Not necessarily that we don't support high-speed rail, but really making sure that the 1 mile radius currently would not allow us to reach Southwest Fresno. It actually gets barely to the edge. of Southwest. And
I think that West Fresno should be the priority in terms of how this money is spent, in terms of the types of projects that are going to come.
When you come into my neighborhood, there's just like no pizzazz or like greatness to it. Because, for example, there's no sidewalks, and there's bad air pollution, and sometimes just low-quality living situations.
A second round of guidelines is due out in May. A final proposal may be ready by the end of the summer.
And
David Taub, GV Wire.
Nobody's opposed to the city of Fresno getting $70 million. The opposition is coming from how it's going to be spent. Lee Brand making the point, David, that he's going to spend that money in downtown Fresno within a 1-mile radius. All right, what about southeast Fresno? What about southwest Fresno?
This is going to be a big battle. Right now, as the guidelines are, through the state agency that's going to be distributing these funds, the proposal is that they have to be spent within 1 mile of the downtown high-speed rail station.
That's what the contract says, right?
Right now, but it's a guideline. I think that's going to get scrapped because you heard the people in southwest Fresno are really organized. And
they're upset.
Yeah, the video we saw, they went up to Sacramento for a meeting and to tell them. But guess what? This is going to be a battle. When you have $70 million on the line, you're right. You have the folks in Southwest Fresno who want this money.
Not all of it, but some of it.
Well, at least some of it.
Let's spread it around. Why not spread it around?
Well, when you have $70 million, it's going to be a battle. You have the folks in Southeast Fresno saying, hey, we have polluted neighborhoods too. And here's a wild card. The Veterans Boulevard Project, one of Councilman Steve Brandow has been advocating for that would ease traffic in that Herndon 99 Grantland area. It's a big project that's been on the books for a while. That could qualify for the $70 million.
Well, what takes priority?
Well, that's going to be the $70 million question, John. I mean, listen, you got at least four different constituencies who are going to want this money, and it's going to be a battle to find out if they're going to be filtered through one group to make the application for this money. It's to wait and see. Watch GVWire.com, and we'll. There's a meeting this Thursday to talk about it. So,
all right, one more topic, and I don't know if you think this is a throwaway. Roll a videotape on the Fresno Grizzlies, your baseball team, right here in the city of Fresno, the AAA affiliate to the Houston Astros. And I got to tell you, there was a story on GVWire.com and saying that the net loss for the Grizzlies this year, $1.7 million. Actually, that was in 2016. In 2015, they lost 1.5. So the number keeps going up as to how much money they keep losing per year. Current liabilities, $6 million. Rent and credits, $697,000 a year. All these numbers and figures being bandied about. But $1.7 million is what they lost. Is the team going to move? Is the team for sale? The owner's been here many times. What's going on, David?
I think this is the same story we've heard in April every time of year. You know, the Grizzlies opening their season, so we hear about the Grizzlies' financial problems. And it's going to be the same narrative overall. The bottom line is 6:35 tonight, you're going to catch the Grizzlies. They're not going anywhere. Whether the team will be sold or not, hey, we've heard they've been up for sale for years.
Right.
We've
Chris
heard
Cummings, the owner.
We've heard about their financial troubles for years. The interesting thing, though, is that the naming rights deal with Chuck Chansey that brings in a reported $1 million a year expires after this year.
What happens then?
Well, that's a lot of money not to come in if they can't renew that naming rights fee, or if somebody else doesn't step in. How about the Connect With Me Stadium? You got $1 million you want to pony up?
I don't think so, but that could go up from $1.7 million loss to a $2.7 million loss.
Listen,
in a matter of months. But how much time? Got 30 seconds? 30 seconds, David. Quick.
It's not cheap to run a baseball team. People think that baseball teams are supposed to be a profitable entity. Not really. I mean, the San Francisco Giants, hell, very few professional sports teams make money.
Yeah, the Dodgers, the Giants, the Yankees, the Red Sox, very few. Very few. But hey, David, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate you having me on again.
Hey, no problem. You're going to come on with George Hostetter at some point here.
Well, that'll be great. I really respect George's writings. He's CV Observer, a long-time insider.
All right. The two guys that have the knowledge inside of what's going on. It's David Taub and George Hostetter. What's going on in the city. Back tomorrow, then another edition of Connect With Me. We'll see you then. Have a good day.
At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
If you have a need to promote your business or event, please consider MeTV Fresno for your next campaign. MeTV reaches over 100,000 of your potential customers in the Fresno area every single week. Plus, you can rest assured that your commercial is running in the greatest family-friendly programs of all time. MeTV Fresno delivers a strong, loyal audience ready to buy, and your campaign will cost a fraction of what you're paying for your advertising now. Call me today to find out how